Hello, hello. Welcome. Well, sometime last year, salon educator Nina Tulio, and I'm going to mute Fatima. It's like we're getting a little feedback somehow. We might even need those earbuds, but we shall see. But anyway, sometime last year, salon educator Nina Tulio invited me to co-blog with her about diversity in the industry. And she sent me several questions to answer. So the first one was, how do you feel things have changed in the industry since you've been in it more than 20 years? And I really took a little while, and I realized I haven't really seen many changes since I started in the beauty industry. So that felt really shocking. And that's why I and 7 phenomenal guests this month are going to spend the actual entire month of May really unpacking this sensitive issue. And last year, during all of the racial turmoil in the country and in the world, it's like many beauty brands made promises in terms of making changes to make our industry more inclusive, more diverse, more equitable. And we're going to do a check-in and see how they're doing and continue to hold them accountable. And we're also going to focus on building exceptional brands of our own, as well as suggesting some next steps. So because there's been very little change over the many years I've been in the industry, and promises have been made to us, by and to our industry. That's the very reason that this discussion is not a Black conversation. It is a beauty industry conversation. And so all are invited. We ask you to bring your questions, your comments, your observations, your challenges and wins, of course, to these discussions. And so my name is Mickey Wright, and I want to welcome you to Beauty Superstars Talk, which is your backstage pass to experts in beauty. And I want to thank you for being here. And for anyone who doesn't know, it's like this show was actually born out of the tragic murder of George Floyd and the aftermath of the racial tensions throughout the country and the world that spilled into the beauty industry. And for many months, it's like I shared that each time that I opened up, actually saying George Floyd's name intentionally to introduce the show. And I shared how I actually had the privilege of being part of a couple of Zoom calls with top Black artists during that time. And the people that were there were amazing. I knew some of them, many of them I didn't know. And we were able to introduce ourselves and actually share what, experiences we had had in the industry. So they range from, feeling marginalized to out and out discrimination. And so basically everyone on that call they were high level performing artists and entrepreneurs, and that had not stopped any of them. And I left that meeting feeling extremely inspired, and that this conversation was one that needed to happen, that these voices needed to be heard, that there wasn't a platform for them. And so I transformed my platform into one for them with Beauty Superstars Talk. And it's actually hard to believe that 3 weeks from today will be the anniversary of George Floyd's murder. And that means a year ago, for most of us, our biggest challenges were trying to stay healthy in the face of COVID-19 and wondering, when would we be able to reopen? Would we be able to survive until we reopened our salons and really be able to get back to work? And so my guest tonight is NAHA, which is North American Hair Styling Award winner, an editorial stylist and salon owner, Faatemah Ampey. She is incredible. And she was, of course, in a similar place to most of us, except that she lives in Minneapolis and actually not far from where Mr. Floyd was murdered. And just as she was preparing to reopen after COVID shutdown, her salon was nearly destroyed during the riots that followed. And she's an incredible hair designer. She's an educator and great person as well. And even with all of her achievements, accolades, etc., as a Black woman, the playing field was less than equitable, less than fair. And so she has gone through a lot in this past year, and she is here to tell us, she has a very unique situation. And we can't wait to actually hear what is going on with her now, and the things that she sees in the industry and the things that may change or may need to change, and some suggestions from where we go from here. So before I jump into her story, I actually want to let you know, it's like we We'll have a double header this week. I will be back on Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern with the woman who literally wrote the book on successful freelancing in the beauty industry. Her name is Crystal Wright, and she has the hair, makeup, and fashion styling career guide, and it's actually considered a Bible in the industry. She's a former agent for talent in the print, video, film, and television, and she's truly an insider to the place where decisions are made on what and who to feature, who to hire, promote, etc. And so you won't want to miss some of the things that she has to share. And she's, of course, also coached and coaching some of your favorite top makeup artists and hairstylists currently. She's a true legend, and she really will transform the way you think. And can't wait to hear her share her experiences from behind the scenes. So I'll be back again next Tuesday. We'll be continuing this conversation with the founder of the Black Beauty Expo, who's one of our sponsors. And his name is Weldon Bond, and you will definitely get a lot of really great information from him as far as how he sees the industry and where he sees the industry. So definitely mark your calendars for the next Tuesdays, all in May, and next Thursday, as well as this Thursday. And then the following Wednesday, we have a really jam-packed lineup for this topic. And so part of our mission with Beauty Superstars Talk is to help bring healing to our beloved beauty industry. So definitely, as I mentioned, all are invited. And we want to thank our sponsor for this exciting series, which is the Black Beauty Expo. And it's the hottest show for Black creative entrepreneurs in the hair, fashion, photography, modeling, and makeup industry. And their next show is coming up. It will be live in Atlanta, Georgia on Sunday, August 1st. So be sure to follow them and keep them to keep up with, the latest things that are going on, and for special vendor packages as well. And in addition, I'm actually the global education director for the Black Beauty Expo. So if you are interested in educating, to please reach out to me. And in addition, this month, I want to thank the Tees in particular. It's like they're a digital platform for all things hair, beauty, and pop culture. And they're offering a lot of support and promotion to have people join us for these conversations that are so pivotal to our industry and moving forward in it. And so we appreciate their support. And they actually had me as a guest on their podcast, Volume Up. Yesterday was when it aired, and I just share a lot of why this is so important, and also what you can expect to gain from each of my guests for this time. And so definitely take a listen if you get a chance. It's on Spotify under Volume Up. And while you're there, be sure to follow the Beauty Superstars Talk podcast as well. And they are available on Spotify, Apple, all of your favorite places to listen to a podcast. So thank you so much for being here. And we'd love to know, where you're from. It's like if you want to drop in the comments below, you can. And every week, as I mentioned, I have the privilege to meet with amazing Black beauty bosses who are making their mark in the beauty industry. And this is more than a podcast. It's a movement to encourage Black excellence, entrepreneurship, to preserve our history, and to bring healing to our industry. So if you are loving what we're doing here, it's like you can consider partnering with us, and you can contribute $5 or any amount, and you can even sponsor a deserving student or beauty pro with training. So just visit beautysuperstars.com and you can look for the red button. So without further ado, I want to welcome my guest, and I want to share her bio with you before we jump right into her story. So hi, Faatemah, and I have you muted, so give me 1 second. There you are. Okay.
I don't have my headset in, so hopefully you don't get too much.
Okay. Yeah, it's like you might want to keep them handy. We'll see about that.
Okay. But I'll take them up if I need to.
Okay. I just want to share a little bit about you, and we were going to jump right in. So Faatemah Ampey is equally engaging in front of the camera or behind the scenes. Faatemah is a big personality whose distinguishing mark is hair that gets attention. Passionate about not only conceiving over-the-top hair that dazzles and can be admired by all, she's been a champion for women in beauty. She encourages women to connect, collaborate, and cross-promote. Through these connections, women will develop relationships that foster change in our communities, says Faatemah. And she's a former Bravo reality star and founding member of Intercoiffure America /Canada, ICA artistic team. and winner of the prestigious North American Hairstyling Award, NAHA. Her creations have been featured in many publications, commercial work, and runway shows, and have won her prestigious awards like the North American Hairstyling Award and ICM President's Award. Inducted into the Aveda Hall of Fame and recognized as an innovator and world-class educator, her brand is not just about beauty, it's about inclusion. For the past 10 years, Faatemah has maintained hair is a fabric, not a race. Recognizing the gaps in beauty education, limited marketing visibility, and the beauty aisle segregation, she has tirelessly worked to desegregate the beauty industry. As a beauty inclusion strategist, Faatemah has consulted with brands on creating brave spaces for all individuals to feel celebrated and beautiful. Faatemah's steadfast commitment to giving back to the community after the social unrest following George Floyd's death has resulted in a recent NAHA nomination for Inspiring Salon 2021. And I think that nomination and hopefully the win is very well deserved. So welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me, Nikki. I really appreciate you. I really appreciate these conversations. They are so very much needed. So thank you for the work that you do to amplify our voices, our stories, and to impact change in our industry and in the world, basically. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I just want you to share, we've all been through so much with 2020, but tell us about your year. Your year is extremely unique, I think. You're the only person living in Minneapolis, but you live and work there. So
yeah. There are lots of people that live in the city. And I think that not only individuals that live in Minneapolis have been impacted, I believe the world was impacted by the murder of George Floyd.
Absolutely.
My personal impact was, for me, really intense and devastating in that I was in the epicenter of the spaces because I was near where he was murdered. My salon was in the epicenter of the focus of the unrest. So all of the national news coverage where you saw gas stations fully ablaze and all that, that was on my block, literally. What saved me as a business, as far as brick and mortar, was that I'm on the second floor. So everything on the first floor was destroyed. Glass broken, fire, graffiti, you name it. And forgive me for not remembering or recalling how many days it went on and on. But it was like the movie The Purge, where it was just this kind of never ending, at night, you're going to go to sleep, bad things are going to happen. You're going to wake up and there's going to be smoke and fire and damage. And on one hand, I understood the rage of the community. I understood the rage of the citizens. I understood it. But on the other hand, it's like, wow, this is my entire life's work, my dream, my savings. I'm a single mom. I was a cash startup business. I opened it with my savings, and it was just watching it just go up in flames, along with other friends in that area. And we were a very vibrant community, and a large portion of us were small BIPOC business owners. So I knew that our bounce back would not be the same for the larger restaurants that were owned by individuals in POC. So I basically started going live. I went live organically, feeling very emotional, and I had never done a live feed before on Facebook. And so I went live to just share, like, this is what's happening now. I was not watching the news because I was living it. Mm-hmm. And I was so overwhelmed with emotion that I cut the feed off. And one of my dearest friends, Ted Gibson, texted me and said, you gotta get back on. Like, you're sharing something that we're not seeing, and you've got to like push through this moment and go back on. So I called him and I said, Ted, this is too hard. It's the most devastating thing I've ever seen, not just for me as a business owner and a mom and all the dreams, for the community, for him to die that way. Just my heart was just destroyed from the injustice, the inhumanity, the destruction, all of it. Fast forward to now, I purpose all of that emotion into giving back to this community that so desperately needs it. we need access, we need resources, we need justice, we need equality, we need all of the things. So, you know, had I known that I would evolve into this space as a result of that tragedy, I would still choose to have that happen again. Unfortunately, without the loss of George's life. I mean, what a great price to pay for the world to actually start to move. It's too bad we had to lose his life and so many others. At the end of the day, it was George represented so many people that had died the same way with the same three words, I can't breathe. Mm-hmm. How many Black men, Black people have died unjustly at the hands that are sworn to protect and serve. So it really started me on this mission of trying to fill the gaps in the needs of that community. And I'm honored to be nominated for NAHA. Obviously, I just pivoted to the community out of intuition and out of the desire to help change the situation. But I'm absolutely extremely honored and humbled that I'd be one of 5 people in all of North America to be honored and nominated for that category.
Yeah, well, congratulations on that. And, you know, it's tragic and sorry that, you know, that was the impetus for it all. But one of the things that I do remember is you having, I think it was like a food drive or just a drive to get resources for the people in the community because nothing was open.
Yeah.
And like immediately, I'm sorry.
I was trying to hear you. You said I did a food drive for the community.
I think so. Yeah. Like kind of right after your salon was, you know, not usable, you were planning to go back and open. And what kind of sparked in you to have even the strength and the resources to try to pull that together as quickly as you did?
I was pretty devastated. I won't lie. Just about like, first of all, COVID. Let's just start there.
Right.
That completely had our industry in a chokehold, and the restaurant industry. The one thing that I observed about the restaurant industry is I felt that they had support and people rallying to save restaurants. You know, I didn't feel that same support for our community, and so I lived off my savings for 3 months. I couldn't wait to reopen. And just so it was literally just holding my breath to open after COVID. And then the social unrest happened. And I want to share that in that time, what many people don't know about Minneapolis at that time is before George Floyd's murder, we had no public transportation. We had, you know, everything was closed down. We were on full lockdown. And so after the unrest, I quickly realized that people couldn't access food because gas stations, Targets, banks, there were agitators that flew into the city to create overwhelming amounts of destruction. And so the citizens, yes, they marched, yes, they were angry, but I don't know how much mainstream really reported that we had groups of trained militia in our city destroying the very essential needs in this already handicapped margin of Minnesota or Minneapolis. And once I was made aware of that, I realized people need to eat. There are single moms out there, probably with babies that need Pampers. They probably need basic water, all the things. And so I knew I couldn't open up. I couldn't spend another day in my home crying about a business that I could completely rebuild somewhere else at some point. And I just thought, I'm just gonna just focus my energy on helping other people and doing what I knew was right. So I just did a simple post on Facebook, and it was just incredible the amount of support that we received. We were able to feed over 600 families.
Oh, wow.
Not only were we able to feed over 600 families, I called a cub that had been destroyed and said, you know, I'm sorry that everything happened the way it did, but I need bags. That's how we know how many people we fed, because they gave us 600 bags and we went through the bags.
Okay.
Get creative after that. And so I called Cub for the bags. I went on Facebook and said, hey, here's what we're looking for. And then the next day it was like, whoa, we need drivers, because not everyone can actually get to our location. So what I researched was that there were food shelters and hubs, but nothing was in my 5-mile radius. So I turned the salon into a food hub, so to speak. And then we found volunteer drivers on Facebook. to take food to shelters, senior citizens' homes, runaway centers, all of those kind of underrepresented spaces. And man, I just immediately felt like this is what I'm going to continue to do. That was my kind of aha moment too. We know that food is a basic need and everyone should be able to eat. But I realized that at some point, someone would be getting these individuals food, and I want to keep pivoting towards what are the current needs of the city. The second initiative was, after seeing all of us businesses reopen, because of the devastation in our community, people only came to gawk. They didn't come to frequent any of the businesses or the restaurants. I mean, plywood was everywhere. Things were still in partial disarray. And so I reached out to the city planner of Minneapolis and said, hey, we need a curbside appeal project. And so once again, I asked for permission from the city to get patios and turn, kind of streets into restaurants, patios on the streets because they couldn't have people inside because of COVID. So the city planner was really instrumental in helping me execute all of these different things quickly. And he had no idea, it's like, I realized that we want government to do so much, but they're not in our neighborhoods. They're not day to day. When I called him, I got his information from a client. And he said, thank you for telling me this. Thank you for, I had no idea. We were so focused. They were so focused on the areas that were just completely destroyed. Understand that us small businesses that were able to reopen were hanging on by a thread. So we continued to build this relationship where I would just call him and say, hey, I want to do this beautification within a mile radius. I got commercial planters donated. And the city was absolutely exhausted as far as funds. So I just reached out to the community again. I went out to Facebook and I said, hey, I want this project. Over 100 people showed up. So many people showed up, I had to turn people away.
Wow.
Approximately 30 commercial planters within a T-bone of an intersection that is known as Uptown. And it was magical. It was wonderful. And it was healing to see people wanting to come together and have the spiritual experience of just planting new seeds together for our community. So it was donated by Metakawakan Sioux tribe. It was blessed by Char Soil. So many magical things with just reaching out to different people in the community, and everyone wanted to be a part of that healing. So that was beautiful too.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like, that's like fabulous to hear. I definitely want to pivot into the other part of your life, I guess, during that time. It's like I definitely saw you on Hairbrained. You did an interview there, and I kind of wanted to unpack some of the things that you were sharing, because there was, kind of like a lot of the rest of the country, like a buildup of all of these things that were internalized, I guess. And it's like, okay, now's the time to share, to say it, to put everything kind of out there. And of course, that was in the heat of everything going on. But with that time, I guess one of the things that kind of stood out was just, seeing you with your awards, which you had put in the picture purposefully to say, you had won all of these awards and still experience, what you experienced in the industry. So share with us, what was that you experienced in the industry, and what were you?
Absolutely. That was a very emotional interview. I almost didn't do the interview. And Jared, I applaud him for still interviewing me after we had a private conversation about how neglected I felt his organization was for sharing and amplifying our voice and our talent. So I felt some kind of way. I didn't want to do interviews with individuals that wanted to put a magnifying glass on my trauma. And I'm pretty upset because I had met Hairbrained in several arenas, in all of the award ceremonies where I actually won awards, and no one ever asked me for an interview. So I'm very clear that this is a perpetual problem that we have in the beauty industry, where I don't understand how he never had an interview with me prior to the destruction of my city, prior to the horrific murder of an individual that polarizes an entire nation. So hats off to him for having the courage to still interview me after I just kind of laid it out that I was completely disappointed with our industry.
Mhm.
So that said, and that aside, I don't even remember that interview. I just know that it was during the height of my frustration with just, wow, why does it take an entire city to burn down for everyone to really hear that these voices have never been heard, right?
Mhm.
I'm still trying to understand and unpack that because I've been standing alone in this space. I felt like I've been standing alone in this space in the beauty game saying, hey, we need to be more inclusive. I've reached out to every major company and everyone slighted me. And then it took this horrific tragedy for people to go, oh, whoa, we have a problem. Oh, we need to be more inclusive. Like, oh, we didn't know there was a problem. So I'm happy you saw that interview. I'm not happy. I'm a little, I told you I have a little regret about doing so many interviews in the height of my trauma.
Mhm.
So no disrespect to Hairbrain, but it's very important that we speak the truth and that we grow from that truth. So yes, I have been heavily awarded in the industry and done a lot of things. And I'm sitting here today working for myself because no company has ever given me an opportunity that felt fair for my experience and my resume. I was always given an opportunity to be a textured hair specialist or a multicultural blah, blah, blah. And I thought, well, none of my collections are specific to that. It shows that I do everything. So why do I have to be pigeonholed over here? And while I have this space to say that, not only did I feel that I shouldn't be introduced to the world that way in this certain segment, it's not that I felt it was just diminishing my talent. I felt it wasn't telling the full story of my talent.
Mhm.
I believe that companies still have it wrong. Everyone is trying to fix this problem with shampoo, with SKUs, a few SKUs and a few new classes. And the reality is texture is in everyone's hair. This conversation should be a common thread throughout every conversation we have in beauty, whether we're talking about hair cutting, hair color, anything, all of it, it involves texture. So why do we keep separating and segregating the conversation and holding it over here in a space to say that only people of color experience this movement? And so I'm going to keep saying it out loud. Even now, I'm watching this needle slowly move and companies are putting, brown people in front of you and saying, look, here we are. We've got these people teaching these classes. Here's a silk press. Here's a box. That's not the problem. The problem is the education should be integrated. It's still being separated. So now you're still going to behind the chair, and behind the chair is like balayage, da 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 da. Oh, and curls, da 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 da, and texture. That's not the conversation, you guys. I don't know why these companies pull me in the room so I can tell them how to really. This is not. It's like teaching someone the alphabet and trying to separate a certain segment of it. All of it is one conversation, and that's what frustrates me. Just in 20, what years is 2021? In 2020 alone, we know that Black women are the fastest growing entrepreneurial sect in America, right?
Mm-hmm.
93 Black women in America received investment funds over $1 million. Only 93 women. That is 0.0001%. You can't tell me that only 93 women had great ideas. You can't tell me that only 93 women in America were talented enough to get the funds or creative enough. So we have a problem with this access. And while I see companies doing, we see change, right? I'm wondering how much of this is a trend just to kind of appease people and to calm them. My call to action to any manufacturer or publishing company is, who is sitting on your board? Who's sitting on your board? I don't want to, that's great if you want to show me a Black hair collection. That's great if you want to add a class to your show. The impact really comes from who's sitting at the table, making the decisions and talking about how these things are evolving. And until the tables change, the conversation isn't going to change. So, I mean, I look at someone like Michelle O'Connor. You and I talked about this. I think that she is brilliant. Brilliant. And I look at her title for her company and I thought, to me, it's not enough. She's proven she's a Michael Jordan of hair right now. Yes, there are many people that are talented as well, but I have to hold her to a different level in that she can do all the things. And I feel like companies have tunnel vision. I look at Michelle and I go, she's a superstar because she can do all the things and she can do that, right? Companies look at her and I feel like they're looking at, she can do this. She's brown, she does this well, and that's great. She does this too. Now, these are my opinions. I must say that. No slight against Matrix. A little bit of shade in that I think she should be elevated beyond where she is, and that she should be a leader in that company in a space far beyond just making a collection of work. Obviously, if she can do collections to that capacity, she also has the intellectual capacity to reshape and realign their mission so that it's more appropriate for the world we live in. So I feel that these companies are about 100 years behind on where they are today. So I know everyone's excited, and I see Black talent clamoring for these opportunities. And what I want to say to these artists, take your time. Do not let companies one-off you. Don't let them, I'm trying to use my words very carefully because Talent, be careful. Do not take a check for a couple $1,000s to steal your intellectual property that is going to make them millions of dollars. You're so happy to be in front of the camera to show someone a book press, and you get paid $5,000, and then how companies making. Do you know what I'm saying? We have to think bigger. We have to do better. And I think for artists to keep
and
our
you're breaking up just a little bit. Say that again.
We have to really be strategic. I want artists to really think about, would I make more money saving this and selling it for myself rather than getting one check from this company that's now going to just go to the next hot whoever? And because these companies are not investing in these artists. Mm-hmm. They are paying money to just support trend. I want companies to invest in artists that are BIPOC, period. And I really don't see that being something that I actually feel is happening right now. I think a lot of this is performative, and I don't want to sound negative, but I've been in the industry a long time. And until I open up a magazine and see that the contributor list looks as diverse as the world, then I won't be happy. Mm-hmm. When I look at it and there's 10 contributors and there might be one person of color, which I have yet to see in any major beauty publication, and please correct me if I'm wrong because I look at the contributors. I think it's really unfortunate that they're trying to do this kind of smoke and mirrors, and I really want to have lasting, impactful change. We've got to change those boardrooms. We've got to change who's contributing to the stories. And artists, stop being so excited for 5 minutes of fame that you sell out your whole intellectual capacity for a check for $5,000 when you can make $5 million. So develop your ideas, save them, trademark your stuff, and be very careful who you lay in bed with.
Sounds wise. So I really want you to unpack a little bit more what you're saying with wanting to see manufacturers investing in, Black artists, people of color. Mm-hmm. What does that actually look like, for someone who is an artist and it's like, this is my great love, this is my great talent. I would love the opportunity to work with this company. Tell us a little bit more of what it might look like.
For me, I'm going to use, and I hope that Michelle isn't offended that I use her an example because I really enjoy her. It looks like Matrix would elevate her beyond that space of just doing hair and put her in a room where it's like, okay, let's talk about, have her meeting with the marketing team. And I don't know the scope of what she does, but I'd like to see her train in the next and for that company to invest in this whole other generation of young, new talent. I feel that we keep seeing the same faces. Mm-hmm. It's time to elevate the faces that we've already seen that have done their time in the industry, that have proven that they are icons and legends in their own right. And I believe Michelle is one of those individuals. And so we should hold them in a space that is honored and prestigious and that contributes greatly, that in a way that can foster real change. So the investment looks like companies not hiring freelance artists to do, or influencers to do one class, and then they pay off for millions of dollars online. If you're a company such as Redken, Matrix, L'Oreal, what does your top tier leadership look like? Stop trying to one off these artists and hire these artists and put them in positions that matter as far as training. So what I'm seeing companies do is they'll hire someone to do a class, but what they should be doing is hiring them to be a part of that whole educational structure. That's what it's like. And so many of these artists are freelance doing education for the company. And to me, they're giving you a nugget that you don't have. So why wouldn't you swoop that person up and put them under your umbrella? They have value. They have something you don't have. So that's what that looks like to me.
Okay. Okay. And you're saying that this training that might be available, or the opportunity to be part of these teams in terms of, you know, who you're training, who's coming up, may be across the board, not just the textured section of the
right. Stop trying to separate the content. And I think it's funny when they call everything texture, but then they're identifying it with Black or with Latino or whatever. Texture, hair is texture, period. Straight is a texture.
Right.
It's smooth. Straight is a texture. So newsflash, PSA for everyone in the beauty industry that wants to pimp out this texture game, just stop, because I'm going to keep calling it out. Like, texture is a movement that belongs in any space where anyone has hair. The only texture that's a non-texture is a bald head.
Okay.
Bald hair doesn't texture, but you know, anyone from Norwegian to African American to Latino to whatever. And I don't understand how we keep trying to put it over here, and then it's in this part of the conversation when day one, when you pick up a pair of shears, or when you talk about, my best example is we talk about color from 1 to 10. Separate color. It's from Black to blonde. And that's how texture should be talked about. It should be incorporated. The same day that we get the color chart, we should get a texture chart. And that conversation not be, for instance, Aveda Institute, I had 3 weeks of highly textured hair. 3 weeks, 10 months of training. And to hold me over my career. And anytime any white stylist reaches out to me and says, Faatemah, what can I do? I want to learn more. And I said, well, first I want you to write your cosmetology board and tell them they did you a great disservice. And everyone out there that's a student that has recently graduated and you had 3 weeks, or let's say even 4 weeks, if you've had 10 months of styling education and you've only had a fraction of that education be texture, shame on your school, shame on every board in every city. Well, let's start writing letters. Write letters to the cosmetology board demanding more for the money that you're investing in your education. They are handicapping you because the world is more polyethnic, more blended than ever. And they're doing a great disservice to our industry by not giving them this information. Whether they use it or not, that's irrelevant. But it will be a situation in the next 10 years where you will not be able to avoid texture, or in the sense that it's been indoctrinated into us. So I think about my family and how blended we are. So I would love for every student to say, you know what? I'm going to write my board. I've been fighting this for so long, and no one wants to talk to me about why we can't change education and integrate curly hair from beginning to end. I don't understand why it has to be so separated. It's saying that it's muting this whole community and saying that we're not worthy of this conversation. We're not worthy of the appropriate merchandising in a store. We're not worthy. But $1.5 trillion says that we are worthy. We outspend every single person in America. Every $1 that a non-person of color spends, we outspend them by $9.
Wow.
So how is that? So, and then I want to say to the consumer, if there's any consumers watching, if you're a person of color or BIPOC, or if you care about inclusion, period, even if you're a white person, you care about inclusion, start spending your dollars with brands that you know are BIPOC owned, period. Start investing money in beauty superstars. Contribute to Mickey $5 a month. If we can elevate our own platforms, then we don't have to sit up and beg for money that we're spending. Why are we asking for money? We're making these companies millions and they won't even give us the appropriate shelf space. I mean, it's so ridiculous to me. And no one can give me any real answers as to why it is the way it is. And, Ted Gibson and I had this conversation and I said, I'm just going to start calling people. I'm going to start calling them out, for every person that wants to go to Target and buy stuff. I love Target too. And Target touts diversity, but Target is one of the greatest offenders of beauty aisle segregation. They are still separating products based on pigment and supposed texture. All of that stuff should be in one aisle, period. And I've offered solutions for how that should look, but nobody wants to do that change. So I don't spend my money right now at Target. I'm just gonna say that out loud. You guys can do what you want to do, but I think that we need to be very intentional about how we spend our dollars, very intentional about how we support each other in our community. I said to Mickey that I was not giving interviews right now because I felt that all of these media companies were trying to highlight my trauma, and I really want to have real, honest conversations about impact, change, and how we elevate and how we should be moving around right now. And so I just want to tell artists, I entered the world of beauty because I love people. I understand the power of beauty. And we all know the power we have every day to touch someone's life and to elevate them and to make them feel better. And imagine if someone muted that power. And that's what the industry is doing to Black people, particularly on a level that, on a scale that is so large, it's ridiculous. So yes, things have changed from a year ago. I'd like to see real, lasting, impactful change. Meaning, if we're talking about inclusion is not just what's in front of us that a company is putting in front of us. Here's a Black face, here's a Black class, inclusion is 360. It trickles from the top down. So what's your leadership look like? And in my fantasy, I want to see Michelle sitting at all the tables for the company that she represents, period. And that's on Mary Had a Little Lamb. Because she's brilliant. And so, even for myself, I'm an inclusion strategist, and companies just want to one-off me. They want to hire me for X amount of meetings, and then, okay, we got it from here. We're going to make millions with this idea. If you don't have a limited scope, they have limited proximity to what the problems are as far as inclusion, because they have short-sightedness, because if you don't live in the problem, you can't understand the problem. That's why you need different people in the room.
Right.
Same rooms are trying to fix a problem that they actually created.
Right.
So you're going to fix a problem that you actually created.
And that you don't even really realize exist.
No. I mean, until the world blew up last year, they were like, what happened? And that, to me, is just, I'm so dumbfounded by it. And I realized that it's actually genuine. That's how indoctrined the entire planet is as far as privilege. And I'm still watching them think that they can do, I call this, what I'm seeing right now, I call it Band-Aid inclusion. We're seeing more people and more spaces doing performative work. And of course, they're making these artists feel as though this work matters. But do you work for their company? Or did they just take your classes that you spent 5 years working on? I look at Kia and how she's got her own classes and how she's having to, I look at that as like fragment. Why hasn't some company just kind of swooped her up and said, you know what? We love this. Done. We want you to be why is she out here like having to find sponsors for every single thing? We have to do that. Love for her to have an investor invest in her brand, for her to just do that full on outright and not have to piece this content that is so valuable that isn't even out there. It's like it's all hustle, and I really don't want to see these amazing artists hustle anymore.
Yeah. I love that. That is a really good way. It's like, I want to be respectful of your time. I know you have another commitment.
No, you're in there. So let me just tell the audience, because you know where I'm at. I'm at a private dinner party at a very special place. I'm having dinner with the first Latina mayor of Minnesota. Woot woot.
Whoop, whoop.
She's beautiful. She's fierce. Her name is Maria, and some other very close, powerful friends of mine. So we're having this meeting of minds because women like us are so passionate about our city. So I'm here. We call it a party, but not really, because all of us have been in this room doing some type of interview or Zoom in the past 2 hours. So we're rotating this room. But that said, they sound like they're not missing me.
Okay.
So I'm just saying that to say, I really think that we still have so much work to do. And I know that sounds trite and we keep hearing it, but the beauty industry, like, we really do. It's literally like, for me, I've looked at beauty as one of the most openly segregated spaces in America, and proudly so.
Mm-hmm.
So we know that we can walk into any major hair trade show, and that we're going to find all of the Asian individuals and the Black individuals and anything else in the back of the show. We know. And the only way we're going to see them in the front is if they're under the umbrella of a company. We know that's only going to be about 1%, right? And so how can we change that? And it's like, I understand that spaces have, or shows have spaces to sell, but we're talking about a community that's already been handicapped. So we don't put handicapped individuals in the parking lot in the back. That's how I see our community. We haven't been given the access, the resources, the finances, the education, the mentorship, all of those things. So I don't want to offend anyone, but I'm going to say we're handicapped in that way as far as the literacy of the competition that we're dealing with. So to put us in the back is literally like putting a handicapped individual that drives a car in the back of the parking lot and saying they got to catch up to all the people with the good lights. I just feel some kind of way about that. I just can't look that way in my head right now, but that's how I see it. And you keep wanting this person in the wheelchair to just, catch up. Come on. Even though you're way back there, we know that you have all of these things that are disparaging. It's really greedy. And we have to find, I would like to challenge, people are going to get mad at me, but the PBAs and all of the IBSs and all of these shows to really look at, okay, we got the back of this room, but who do we feel that's back here deserves, maybe if we gave them this space, it could amplify their brand or their vision. At some point, we have to honor humanity.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that would be the appropriate thing to do with everything that we've seen in the world right now. And if we were all just a little kinder, if we all just did one thing differently, if we all did something more than what we did yesterday, the world would be in an extremely better place.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. What you're sharing is like, and I want to share a couple comments as well. It's like Inez Teamer says, cool convo, Mickey and Faatemah. And we have someone who's Facebook user. And if you want to share your identity, it's like you can go to the bottom of where the
that's me. I'm just liking my own stuff. Just kidding.
Cool.
No, I'm kidding. It's not me. I'm like, she's awesome. I'm texting right now.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I don't know who that is, but I wish they would reveal themselves. Thank you for showing me that.
Yeah, it's like, this is awesome. The realest conversation about this that I've heard. And that's what we want to do all month is like really, we're not sugarcoating anything this month.
No, wait till they see your next guest on Thursday, because she's I'm like just small fireworks. She's the boom.
Okay.
I love her so much. So I think it's really important. I've tossed around like, what do I say? What do I not say? But at this time, hate is making so much noise. Cannot be silent in a space where hate is taking up so much room. So I'm just going to have to speak my truth. And I thought about, what do I have to lose? I've got nothing to lose because I've built my own brand my way anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Your company has invested in my photo shoots or in my business. I open my business cash. Like, what do I have to lose? No one co-signed for my penthouse or what anything that I have earned it in a current that was always pushing against me. I've had to swim so much harder than so many people that I know that don't look like me. And that is not to play a violin for myself. I recognize that I am privileged. I do feel that my experience in beauty would have been differently had I not been born with, you know, a vagina and with this tan, which I love. I love both, by the way. But I understand that both become a problem for the industry. When we look at women, I think we make up 80% of the beauty industry. Look at how much space we hold up as far as spaces that matter in leadership and on the platform stages. We probably only make up barely 10% of that community. I'm a numbers person. And so how does 80% of this industry not have a voice? How is
Well, that is one thing I can say that has changed through the years that I've been in the industry, is that when I was starting out, there were very few women on stage. And now there are a lot of, you know, not just stage, but educators and that type of thing. And now I'm really excited because there's so many more.
You know where I want to see them?
Women.
The board room.
I understand. I'm with you.
That's where I want to see brown people. And when people tell me, Faatemah, I don't see color, I say, you know what? I agree with you. I don't see color either. I don't see them in the boardrooms. I don't see them in spaces that matter for impact, for equality, for justice. I don't see people of color getting the same amount of money for the dollar. Listen, we all see color. No person of color is saying don't see us.
Right.
I want to see us. I want you to see my pigment. I want you to see my my culture. I want you to see my swag, all the things. It's like, I have so many friends that live in Minneapolis that are so proud to be Irish. I'm proud to be African American. And I don't want someone to tell me they don't see color. So my answer is that when they say it is, yeah, I don't see us either. In all the spaces that matter, I don't see us. So that's probably why you don't see color, because I know you see color because you're wearing the same color socks today. Or, you know, whole colorblind thing is, again, an excuse or a way to move away from a greater conversation, which is there's something really wrong with our nation right now as far as equity, inclusion, and just simple humanity. We need to do better. I mean, all of us, we need to do better. And like I said, I just want to encourage these artists out here that are freelance, that are like, oh my God, here it is. All these companies are clamoring for talent now. If they're not offering you a job, then suggest they do. You know, if they reach out to you and say, hey, we saw online that you offer this cool class and we want to pay you $5,000 to teach it in Idaho one time or maybe 3 times this year, say, you know what? Thank you so much for this opportunity. I was actually thinking that I should be under the umbrella of your company so that I can help with more content, with what, you know, you put it to the company that you are available to be employed by this company. You're going to have greater gains under the umbrella. I'm not discouraging people who are like myself who have become independent freelancers. If I could have it differently, I probably would have. I only became an entrepreneur and independent because I could not get my rightful pay. So it was a life born out of necessity for me. It was like, wow, they're really not trying to pay me. So let me just go ahead and do my own thing. So I want to say that to artists, to companies. I want to say, stop doing these one-off dances with people of color. You know, real impact and change comes from top down. And it's not one-dimensional. It's 360 degrees. Look around your entire company and see who's sitting in all the rooms and all the spaces. To the consumer, if you're watching us live, I want to say, spend your dollars intentionally. Please support BIPOC artists, products, education, press. We need it. Because if we're spending $1.5 trillion, Black people, we're spending that. What if we took all of that spending power and turn it right back around into our own community? What would our community look like?
Right.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, very powerful. And Inez, actually, the comment that we got before was from Dottie Mount. So thank you, Dottie.
Thank you, Dottie.
And Inez says, yes, I want to see more Black and brown with the right pay. So
we have to demand the right pay.
Definitely is. A lot of times I think we don't know what the right pay is.
Start talking to your colleagues. Start talking to them. They'll tell you what they're getting paid. Or, you know, if you, I I can't be the only person in the industry that has friends that are not people of color. And that's why I stepped away from the trade shows. I realized that I was not being paid fairly at the trade shows. And I was really frustrated because I worked really hard. I had sold out shows and classes. And I had someone suggest to me that maybe a colleague that was not a person of color, maybe I didn't get paid the same because I had an entourage. I was like, what? So I had an all woman team, and a lot of my family worked for me. They're all in beauty, and that was perceived as an entourage. But if anybody else had, say I was white and I had a whole bunch of white people around me, I don't know if they would call it an entourage. I'm just saying I was feeling some kind of way. So apparently I'm rolling around and there's more than one Black person with me. It's an entourage.
Right.
Interesting. I was like, what? That's my sister. She's my manager. She gets paid for this. I wouldn't even want a NAHA without my sister Kimberly doing the art. Yes, I do great hair. And yes, I had a great photographer. And yes, I paid beautiful models. But my sister was completely instrumental in that artistic direction. I have to shout out for that and say that that's not an entourage. She, just like I'm talented in the beauty game, she's talented as far as vision, scope, and artistic direction. Right. Any image that you've ever seen of me online, my sister has been there saying, stand like this, move like this, whatever. It was my sister's idea to drop my last name and just be a one-name celebrity. And then you can just put in FAAT and Google brings me right up. Mm-hmm. That's not an entourage. That's talent. Right. So I feel every kind of way. And just because she happens to be my sister, I mean, I don't know what kind of genes my mom smacked us with, but have 10 more like her. My mom should have had $10 because we would run this town, honey. Beast. All of my sisters, which they will be at NAHA with me. So every time I roll around, I got sisters doing stuff, you know, and they're getting paid for it, and that's an entourage.
And even if you had an entourage, what does that have to do with your compensation?
That's what I don't know. I think that people will find any excuse to justify injustice when they are uncomfortable with sharing the room, sharing the pay, and let's just be honest. I mean, that's what that looks like. Just like we had a president, and I don't like to get super political. People are like, I appreciate the policies, and they couldn't name one policy that they appreciated. I was like, see, this is what I see. But when you tell me whatever policy, then I'm sitting here waiting for it. Like, right. For a reason why we should ignore all of these great injustices and tragedies, specifically to people of color. Mm-hmm. The fact that we lost Dante Wright the same week of the final closing of George's trial was just completely, again, my city was devastated again. You know, National Guard everywhere. I didn't share it on social media because I was so overwhelmed. I mean, it was just, we haven't even been through a year. And that happened in the same city, less than 5 miles away from George. I mean, it's just, this is not okay. It's not okay. And so I hope that companies and individuals and consumers, whoever's on this or whoever will see this later, I've tried to give everyone at least one call to action. If we all do one thing differently with the intention of bringing equality and equity into this space, then we'll make the world and the beauty industry a better place. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's so true. So it's like, what I'll do is kind of recap some of the calls to action if I can remember everything that you've said. But
you're good.
One of the things, if you have a few moments, it's like you mentioned NAHA. That was one of the things that I wanted to touch on. It's like there aren't that many NAHA winners that are Black, and so in the first place. And so it's like I'm grateful to you.
Small group of us. Shirley Gordon. I could probably name them all.
Yeah.
There's a few.
Yeah, Shirley, she was the first to win, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, love Shirley. Shout out.
Yeah.
Mad talented.
We have known each other for years. It's like we started our career kind of together. So
I love her.
Yeah, she's an uber talent, for sure. But while you're here, it's like, would you just give us an idea? I think you've competed several times, and what is it like to prepare for it? What is it like to be nominated, and what is it like to win?
For NAHA, there's a lot of preparation. I think it's really important to have a strong theme I was always very well planned out. I never did an organic. I know people have won from organic entries. I don't work that way. And I think it's really important too. The most important thing is your photographer.
Is your what?
Photographer.
Photographer. Okay. So
because if you have an amazing photographer, you don't even have to have models that are amazing. For instance, I'll give you, Vivek would be an example in that I've seen him like show models how to move them. And, you know, Vivek has an energy that's so big and he can make something out of nothing, right? One of my favorite, or I have two favorite photographers, Roberto Legreschi, who's in New York. Amazing. It just depends on what you're looking for. My first winning collection was shot in my city with a photographer named Buck Holzheimer that donated his time to me. He's one of the premier photographers in this city. I support him. I went to him with my vision, and he had worked with me on several magazine covers. And thank God he gave me 2 days of his life to create a collection that I still can look at that's breathtaking still, right? Photographer's number one. Two, I think it's really important. I think a lot of people don't pre-test their looks. So the day that I shot, I actually had done prototypes and smaller versions of what I did on the days of the shoot. So I could, if I had to, I could repeat that collection 50 times over because I had prefabricated things that were kind of pre-done and I had a system. So I think it's important to get the, and I didn't know how other people worked because I was not famous at the time. That was just my way. But I since become friends with Sharon Blaine, and I know that Sharon Blaine works very systematically the way I do. Every artist is different, but I know that Sharon does a lot of prototyping and practicing. And you know, if you want to win NAHA, then you can't be a person that's sick of looking at doll heads. Like people like Vivian McKinder and myself and Sharon Blaine and Shirley Gordon, we like playing with dolls. We like playing with wigs. And so if you're not a person that has that in you, then you'll probably never win NAHA because you can never get tired of practicing that perfection and experimenting and playing. And so, yeah, practice, photographer, and you got to have a few bucks. I mean, if you don't have any money to pay for the shoot, at least feed your talent. You know, don't have everybody working all day for free and not feed them. So I've been very blessed. I've paid for all of my collections with the exception of one. And I won't name the company that paid for one. But yeah, so I'm not someone that's gotten some big checks from some big company. It was like, I felt that I had a vision. I called the photographer and said, what do you think? And I shot with Roberto more than once just because he's always been someone that's really believed and supported my work. And I think that's important. Have a great relationship. Wardrobe is important also, but honestly, if you have a great photographer, there's so many things that you can do creatively. I mean, if you have a great makeup artist, makeup would be next. Marriage is one of my favorites and a close personal friend. And I mean, if I couldn't afford an outfit, I'm sure he could paint something on somebody some kind of way.
So tell me the name again.
David, Maderich.
Okay.
He's a award-winning makeup artist. He does session classes for Modern Salon. They shoot him and Roberto Legreschi. They teach artists. They shoot NAHA collections with artists for a discounted price in New York. So that's something. If you've never done it, I would say go shoot with them. If you've never done it, I won NAHA after I took a class with Vivian McKinder. It was called Roots and Wings. Expensive class that I'd ever paid for at that time. And it was the most eye-opening class that I'd ever taken about foundation and work and just discipline. So I hold high respect for Vivian and the discipline of the hairdressing that she does. Sharon Blaine is one of my all-time favorites. If you don't know her, follow her on Instagram. She's a beast. She's so innovative. Oh man, she's a beast. I think that she was an expert pilliner. Is that what they call? Is that what they call it?
Yes.
Misquote me on that, but I think that's a random fact about Sharon. Which
okay. Yes.
idea of the scope of her creative ability for foundation work.
Exactly.
Yeah, and of course, I'm naming all women because honestly, Antoinette Beenders, I mean, those women have been Ruth Roche,
Mm-hmm.
Mary Brunetti. She was
Uh-huh.
on NAHA, and she is a personal friend, sister, and mentor to me. So find a great mentor. Find someone to stalk the hell out of about everything that they know. So.
Yeah, well, those are some absolutely fabulous tips. I hope everybody had like pen and paper out. And
Yeah, I mean, stalk artists that you love. Try to figure out their process. If you can't figure it out, DM them. I mean, this is a world where social media can connect us better than any other vehicle, right? And I, personally, I was about to name some of my famous. I know a lot of my famous friends do actually answer their own DMs. I have to help with mine because I'm overwhelmed with a lot of things. But you might be talking to my sister if you DM me.
Okay.
So yeah.
But that's really good information. And one of the things that I ask people sometimes, you know, during interviews or something like that, when they're looking for a position, like, who do you follow on social media? And a lot of people are just kind of all over the place. It's like, oh, I like this and I like that and like that. And it's like, no, I think there's so much value, like from what you're sharing, in following one person and just really seeing like what makes them tick, how, you know, like you say, study their process.
Right. And I had one wish. I think that people are putting a lot of time, no slight to influencers. From what I've seen, influencers, the discipline required to win a NAHA is not the discipline that it requires to be an influencer. Being an influencer says that you're innovative, you're creative, you can do, you know, but to win a NAHA, it's the Oscars of our community. There's so much discipline required in that process. So, you know, we have our guy Tangs, and I'm pretty sure, I don't know if he's ever won a NAHA, but yes, he's talented and that's cool. But I mean, it's a whole, it's not, Guy Tang is not a Sue Pemberton when it comes to color. And if you don't know these names, Google Sue. She's a piece, okay? So these people have mastered this art on a level that is just like they are walking around on clouds and all of us are on the grass, like looking up. So when I entered the room, number one, I had worked so hard to be in that space. I knew I was worthy of that. I could have walked away with no award any night that I was nominated and been happy. So to take the award home was just the icing on the cake. All I ever wanted to do was just to be in that room of icons, to know I had worked that hard and been appreciated on a level that very many people will never experience. So I say go after it. People told me don't do it, that it's rigged, that Black people don't win. Thank God I didn't listen. One.
Right.
I didn't have enough money that I need to spend $10,000 on a shoot. I did my shoot on a shoestring budget. Begged, borrowed, still. I just convinced everyone that they should do this thing with me because it was going to be cool.
Right.
So I say this, don't listen to people that, you know, if you dream big and people say, well, that's ridiculous. I mean, used to say what's ridiculous. It's your dream. Do it.
Exactly. And
any more comments?
The culture of Nova Scotia has heart, power, muscle.
Yeah,
love it. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. And says be brave. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. And
you have to, you know, there's a space for being brave. I think that, you know, Black people have a very unique experience on this planet. And I believe there's brave, but I believe that we are fearless. We have stood in so many spaces. And I think about Harriet Tubman and how many times she went back to get slaves. And that is one of my spiritual icons. And I try to really dig into that space of, I'm going to keep going back for my community. So for every room where they give me a chair, they better get ready because I'm going to bring a whole 10 other chairs of people by me. I mean, that's my goal. I'm not happy with just a chair for me. I'm going back and I'm going to keep going back. And I think that we all need to look at these opportunities that we're getting and not be so self-serving and say, okay, this is great for me, but how can I do more? It's so much better when more of us are in the room to support each other. You know, when you're standing alone in that space with people that don't understand your experience, it's like, again, it's still swimming against that current.
Mm-hmm.
We have to not just, thank you for saying be brave, we need to be fearless. We need to be fearless, and we need to keep going back and bringing more people into the spaces that we occupy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. And she says, you are a conduit.
Oh,
Yes.
thank you.
Yeah. And so I feel like there's a couple things I'd love to dive into, but you tell me how you
But
look.
I mean, you asked away. I still got a little coffee in my cup.
Okay, cool. So,
Does anyone have any questions, or you're going to ask me questions?
well, if you guys have questions, definitely, please, this is the time. Put them in here. If you have additional comments and you haven't shared, you're a little hesitant, put those fingers out there and get to
Ask me anything.
typing. She's here and she's ready to answer if she said anything.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that you were talking about with doing your shoot, which is, a familiar theme, as you mentioned, only 93 people, 93 Black women got funding over $1 million. And, in light of a lot of different businesses, $1 million isn't a huge amount per se. And I don't know how far up it goes, but 93, we all know, is a very small number. But the shoestring, doing your shoots on a shoestring, kind of, what do you call it? All of that, just putting things together, however you need to put together, is part of, our collective experience. But what, if any, suggestions do you have for us to have more access to, funding to be able to do some of the things? I mean, first, don't let funding stop you from doing what you have in your heart. It was your vision that pulled everybody into it. But
I think that we've gotten so used to not being funded that we keep bumping and bruising and kind of doing this in a way that is so takes up so much of our energy. Imagine if you were funded, how excellent you could be, right?
Right.
And those are the spaces I want us to be in. So my first advice would be to just ask for it. So I'm going to tell you that most major organizations will give small companies, BIPOC companies, or companies with great ideas, funding of at least $5,000 without having to go talk to anyone. You could just get in the right room, bank or whatever, with the right idea and get a check without like a super sophisticated format. I mean, just someone has clearance to give you money for up to at least $10,000 without a lot of red tape. I'm just to say that out loud. If you want to know, they can DM me.
Okay.
That's first. Don't think that everything has to be completely formally laid out, trademarked, whatever. I mean, yes, it's important to trademark our work and our education, but sometimes you just need a couple thousand to get all that stuff laid in the foundation so that you can evolve. Second, I would say to these artists where you know that companies have recognized you, don't just get so excited that they reach out and say, hey, can you teach your class? It's already your class. They don't have the content. For instance, and I'm saying it out, BTC, is that her name? Mary's company? Is it Behind the Chair?
Yeah.
They don't have the content. So now what they're doing is hustling off of the hard work of artists. And I don't see those artists being recognized as BTC ambassadors or working for us. So I looked at their site and I thought, well, wow, she's done a great job of like putting people in front of you, but it's all a one-off. When I look at the contributing factors for the magazine and who's in the spaces at BTC in the decision-making, that has not changed. Until those rooms change, I say I'm not interested, right? So ask for the money that you feel you deserve. All they can do is tell you no.
And you're right where you started, right?
So, I mean, if someone privately wants to DM me and ask me how much I charge for consulting, I'm happy to tell you. It was a number I came up with that I felt like I deserved, and no one has told me no. So that's that. So, yeah, I think just asking and not assuming. I think we put this narrative that they won't, we have imposter syndrome because no one's let us into this space. You are worthy, you are good enough, and you deserve the money. Just ask for it.
Yes, powerful. And Facebook user says, thank you, ladies, for this. We need to know that there's a platform and a movement brewing. And as a Black woman in this business, I'm happy to see that maybe I have a chance to be seen.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I wish they would reveal themselves. I'm so curious who that is.
Yeah. If you would like to put your name in, it's like StreamYard will have you have a little prompt at the bottom of this post.
Yeah, it's
Also,
definitely a movement. This is and what I'm concerned about right now is I see all of this, and I'm young. I mean, depending on where you look on Tinder, I'm like in my late 20s. On Bumble, I'm in my early 30s, and then on my birth certificate, that's something else. I'm old enough to know better, and I watch this newer talent right now clamoring at all of this attention that companies are giving them, but it's insincere and it's performative. And I wish that they would go to veterans like myself and the Michelle O'Connors and say, you know, I got this opportunity. What should I do? Reach out to veterans and say, I got this. Does this look good? Does it look solid to you? Because I'm going to say, don't let them one off you.
mm-hmm.
You know, make that a tangible opportunity for you to not only share your intellectual property and grow, but for them to build you. Because see, we can't learn how to move around if we're always working alone.
Right.
We learn how to move around. And that's the problem.
Yeah, that I do want to touch on. And then we have Facebook users saying, thank you for reminding us not to sell ourselves short. And so I think that's really important. And it's Dottie Mount. So thank you, Dottie. But, you know, it's like, we'll talk about this and kind of close everything out. But one of the things, I think I'm losing, what were you talking about? Because it's like super important. And it was really,
I was saying, you know, stop trying to figure out every decision for yourself. Reach out to veterans in your community.
Yeah.
I know a lot of times, like contracts.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, and these beautiful, powerful, strong women. We're a mixed group. There's, I said, the first Latina mayor of Minnesota, period. Other women I won't name that are very notable, and a lot of them are not all of them are people of color. These women in this room that are not people of color, they are putting me on. They tell me what my contract should look like. Mm-hmm. So you've got to find people that you can trust, that understand that there needs to be elevation in this space, that are willing to help you with those contracts and negotiations. And so that's who I lean on, because I don't have the funds to pay all the fancy attorneys. And, you know, I only call an attorney when I absolutely need one. You know, I'm not there yet. I'd love to say I have one on retainer. I don't. That's not where I'm at. I got 2 kids to feed, a business to run, and all these things. So lean on your mentors. Stop trying to figure everything out yourself. And if you don't have a mentor, reach out to people and say, you know, I know you don't, just take the chance. Take the chance. You never know.
Yeah, that's something I think that is indicative of your success, that you take the chance. You know, the worst I can say is no. It's like you just kind of keep going. But one of the things I did want to share with what you were saying about reaching out and connecting and asking and you know, looking for mentorship and looking for guidance, that was one of the things that stood out to me during those Facebook, not Facebook, but Zoom meetings with other, you know, powerful Black artists and entrepreneurs in this industry, that how really no one had really shared some of these the things that had happened or the experiences that they had, which were very painful. You could see and feel, you know, like a palpable kind of feeling of, you know, this pain that's there brewing. And I realized, you know, for myself, it's like, you know, things happen or what have you, and you just kind of shrug it off and keep it moving, which is, you know, again, a trait of someone who's, you know, gonna keep it moving and gonna be able to produce at a higher level. And yet there are all these resources. There are all of these people doing amazing things in various niches and corners of the industry that have like a knowledge that just like you can't even compare it to anything, because it's like we can't know everything, and there's different people who have this expertise, and we don't reach out to them, and we don't have honest conversations with each other to see, you know, like, where are you? What can I help you with? What can you help me with?
There is a strength and vulnerability. And in my most vulnerable time in my life, I went live with something that was so personal, that was so painful, that was so tragic. And I could not believe the support that I received from that space. I've never been a person to beg for anything. I have worked hard, and I'm proud of that. But everyone is, at some point in their life, will need assistance. Just as happy as I am to feed 600 families, to beautify a neighborhood, to mentor kids that need help, why wouldn't I be willing to accept help when I'm in that space, right? It doesn't make you any less powerful or weak or any less intelligent. It just means you're in a jam. And so if we can recognize that, the strength and our vulnerability, because if you are so in a space of elevating yourself to saying, looking like you know everything, you know nothing. Don't ever get complacent. Don't ever get cocky. So I think that's the biggest and greatest lesson that I learned in all of this, is saying, you know what, I don't know. I need help. And I would like to take this time right now to say thank you to the hair nerds who created a GoFundMe. And the only reason my business is still alive and standing to this day is because of that authentic badassery group of women who have always shared stories that were inclusive from day one. If everyone, such as, I'm gonna stop naming media because they'll get mad at me, but if every media outlet could look at hair nerds and what they've been doing from day one, that's what everything should look like. They never did it as a trend or as a gimmick or as a. And I called Erin last night and I told her, I'm doing this interview with you, and that I really appreciated her for being. I didn't ask for a GoFundMe. I went live. I looked up, there's a GoFundMe, and they raised like close to $30,000 in less than a week. That is just beyond for me. And so I really feel that at that time, the community stood up and held my back. And for this long, I've been working to support artists, to support my communities, but that was the first time in my life where I really felt like I needed someone to like hold me up. And they had my back. And thank you to every beauty person in the industry, because I know largely a lot of those funds came from beauty professionals. So thank you to my community for keeping me alive. And like, I really felt like I was not gonna make it. So thank you to the hair nerds. Thank you to every space such as this that is allowing our voices to be heard in an authentic way that amplifies and impacts change in our industry and in our world. So Mickey, I really love that you've created this platform. So thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. It's like, this has been so rich and so, just needed, for us to have these conversations and these talks. And it's like, I feel the appreciation, and I know some of you guys are going to be watching this, on a replay or what have you. So it's like, I really, appreciate you being here live and that we're able to interact. And also, it's like that you're watching this on a replay. So please, leave, what are your takeaways from this talk tonight? And, and is there someone who may need to see this in your life, that you can share it with? Because you just shared some really, really powerful, wise things that needed to be said as well. But just all around, from an artistic standpoint, from a financial standpoint, from a, make a difference in the world standpoint. And it's like, I can't thank you enough. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. And I'm glad you had a few more minutes to stay with us. It's like, this is
yes. They sound like they're having fun without me, so it's fine.
Okay. And Black Beauty Culture of Nova Scotia says, hashtag Mickey Wright has the platform. Thank you so much. We appreciate your support.
Thank you.
And Dee Isaac says, hey, Mickey and Faatemah, so true. And she says, also, it was crazy here at home, Twin Cities.
Yes, it was.
Yeah. So thank you for that, Dee. Thanks for being here. And we're going to close out and we're going to get ready for Thursday. So I have got Ms. Crystal Wright coming on.
Crystal. I will say this, just one final thing. For all of the individuals that see that, we all know the needle is moving. We need to keep the same energy. We need to keep pushing. keep speaking out, keep telling the truth. Most importantly, we need to connect, collaborate, and cross promote so that we can strengthen each other's platforms. Period. Mickey can do all that she can do on her own, but me sharing her on my platform introduces her to a whole nother audience. So if we can all kind of collectively think in that way, this is how we elevate the playing field. This is how we amplify our work, our voices, and our worth, and show that we are worthy of all of these spaces that we are not able to enter in our full excellence and our full capacity. So connect, collaborate, cross promote to strengthen each other's platforms. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
My lighting is leaving. I used to be cute like an hour ago.
Okay.
The light is leaving. But thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Those are perfect words. Absolutely perfect. And I think that we do not have the luxury of taking our foot off the gas. Like it has to
we have to keep the same energy.
Yeah.
I keep seeing posts where people are like, I'm tired. And whenever I think that I'm tired, one of my best friends is sitting out there. And I said, Harriet never, even if she was tired, she didn't have that.
Exactly.
She's my spiritual kind of icon in that the work that the slaves had to do is so much greater than the work that we have to do.
Yes.
It's not to discount that. Yeah, I get it. I know that we're tired. I know. I just don't think that we can use that as an excuse for not getting it done. This is a time. This is a movement. And we need to keep our foot on the gas. And when you get tired, lean back on your family, your friends, your support. And that's why I talk about Ted Gibson so often. I mean, that's who I call when I'm having a complete, other than my mom, my sister, a complete like moment, right? And he always says something. It's like, girl, you were born for this. You got this, and that's like, so find your person, find your people, find your tribe.
Yeah.
And have them just walk with you so hard that you don't ever feel like you're alone in that space. And together we can do so much, right?
Absolutely.
So thank you, Mickey. I appreciate you. And thank you all for joining and comments. I appreciate it.
Yeah. That whole, collaborating and really supporting each other, I think is really, really key, and like you say, even in the down times that you have a support system, that you have some folks to say, okay, take a breather, but get back up and get out there.
I think what we're missing is that connected community.
Yes.
That's how people are able to take advantage of us as artists. Imagine if we all came together and we said, no, none of us are signing any contracts. None of us are. Let's see what we're all doing.
Right.
Get on the phone. Call. How we're going to move around. We have to get organized that way. And if that's the last thing that I say, that is the most powerful thing that I can say for us to be, I feel as though because we've been in the space where we've not been in the room, we're playing checkers and they're playing chess. It's time for us to start playing chess. In order to do that, we have to collectively get together and hold the game plan and work together. So thank you, Mickey.
Yeah, thank you. Excellent point. And it's like, I do want to take this time just to say thank you to our sponsor, which is Black Beauty Expo.
Yes.
And you will get to meet the man behind the brand next Tuesday. And he definitely has some ideas in terms of, how we can do some of those things that you're speaking about. So I'll let him do all the sharing, but it's like, I think you're absolutely right. I think that we need more of that, more coming together, more collaboration, more connection, and not feeling like we're all alone. We have to figure it out. And the answer is going to be no. So why bother? It's like all of those need to be like X, 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 it's like there's help and everything out here. So we've got a few more comments. Dee says, you're welcome. You do an awesome job, Mickey. Right. Thank you so much, Dee. I appreciate it. And let's see. And she says, oh my God, yes, we have to continue it. That's right, Faatemah. And we are being connected, collaboration. And Black Beauty Culture of Nova Scotia says, find your tribe, find your team.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So really, really powerful. So we're going to be back. We're going to be continuing this conversation all month long. Like I said, Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern time. I'll be here with Crystal Wright, so I can't wait to hear what she has.
I'll be watching.
Okay. Yeah, she has a very unique backstage, behind the scenes type of experience. And I don't know about you guys, but it's like I never heard about how do you become an agent when I was coming along. And so I can't wait to find out, that part of her journey. And then she's transitioned into coaching and just has some phenomenal programs that are really, propelling people into a whole nother stratosphere as far as the freelance community, as well as her book, The Bible. So, so I'm excited to meet with her. And then, like I said, Tuesday, Weldon Bond will be here, and he is the founder of Black Beauty Expo, as well as Black Beauty Magazine, and he's just Black Beauty 365. So it's like we will be hearing all about, his philosophies and his thoughts and where we are and where we need to go and what we need to do to move ourselves forward. And then next Thursday, I'm going to have Corinne Corbett, who was, she's a former editor-in-chief of Elle Magazine, beauty editor for Elle, as well as Essence Magazine. She's been on that side of the beauty world. And boy, it's like she has a great podcast called Start Right Here. I was fortunate to be a guest on that, but she just has phenomenal guests and conversations, and I can't wait to hear her unique perspective from that avenue as well. And how do you become an editor, And so I can't wait to hear and have her share, her experiences in the beauty industry and how things are selected, because representation matters. It's like there's no more powerful place to be than editor of a beauty publication. And so we want to hear that unique perspective. So that's next Thursday. So it's just going to keep going and keep going. So I'm, again, grateful that you're here. If you have missed any of our series on hair loss or any other episodes, including this one, if you came in late, I saw a couple people that says they've got to catch the replay, but you can catch it at beautysuperstars.com, or you can go on to my YouTube channel, which is Mickey Wright, M-I-K-I, just 1K, guys, M-I-K-I Wright, W-R-I-G-H-T. And please subscribe there, and definitely, you'll be able to see all of the previous episodes that we've done. And also we're on, our podcast is on Apple, Spotify, all of the usual places. So please subscribe there. It's like we appreciate your support with that. And if you are interested in partnering with us, you can visit beautysuperstars.com and just look for the red button. And, like I said, $5 a month is great, or any other amount that you want to contribute. And so I think I've covered just about everything. It's like if you are in a salon suite, I want to invite you to take advantage of my free salon success guide and make sure that you are on track to do everything that you need to do to be in great shape as we are navigating our new normal. So make sure you've got that taken care of. And again, I want to thank the Tees for their support and features. And definitely, if you haven't had a chance to listen to my interview with them on the podcast, it's called Volume Up by the Tees, and it's on all of the podcast stations as well. And I really describe, about this month and about each of my guests and why I'm excited that they are coming and what you can expect. So take a listen there. And again, Black Beauty Expo is our main sponsor, and they are the hottest show for Black creative entrepreneurs in the areas of hair, fashion, photography, modeling, and makeup. So they cover the whole gamut. And the show is coming up August 1st, so be sure to follow them. And I am their global education director, and look forward to talking with you if you're interested in educating. And so if you're looking to, partner with us or expand your visibility, do anything with Black Beauty Expo, just let me know. And again, I want to thank my special guest tonight. Thank you so much, Faatemah. This has been just like brilliant. So I love.
Thank you so much. I love that someone called me a conduit. Thanks.
Okay. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you.
That's a perfect word. So everyone have a fabulous evening, and I will see you on Thursday. Tag a friend to come and join us.
Thanks, Mickey.
Thank you. Take great care, everyone. Thanks, Faatemah.